What's up, guys? This is Ian here, coach of your Ladner Lanturn, bringing you guys a really fun video today. We made it into the NPL Tryouts, so that's really fun. I did mention in my update video back in September that I did apply, and it looks like my application was good enough to get accepted into the tryout phase. So this obviously doesn't mean I'm guaranteed a spot in the NPL itself, which would be obviously very cool, but I did get to do a draft, and we're doing a tournament phase to see sort of the skill level of all the battlers, and I think that the actual battles themselves aren't the biggest part of your application. I believe consistent uploads is definitely a big part of it because it is an upload required league. I definitely have the checkbox there. If anyone looks back at my previous upload history, they'll know how often I upload and how consistent I am at finishing uploads for seasons. I don't think, except for UPBA Season 2, which died, I've finished uploading every single league that's finished. I've gone through the whole, except for LAT Season 1, which was Wi-Fi, and I didn't have a cap card. I was just using other people's recordings, so who knows? That was a year ago. All I know is that we're in the NPL tryouts, and I got a really strong draft, in my opinion. There are glaring weaknesses with this draft, absolutely, but this draft is like super strong, lots of power, and I'm really excited to bring it to you guys. We got fourth pick. It's a points draft. We had 115 points for 9 to 12 mons, and the cap was 18 points or something. So there's tons of room for really good drafts here, and I am gonna have a fun time with this. So first up on the block, we picked up Kyurem-Black. Now this is Jed's nickname that I've stolen, but it's so good that I had to. And you see the little Z crystal there on the side. That means it's a Z user for me. We've used Kyurem-Black in the past. You guys won't have seen it on my channel though, since our championship in UPBA Season 1. Throwback all the way back to UPBA Season 1, which was like 8 months ago or something when we won the title with this. Great wall breaker. Dropped to me in fourth. The dude before me took Blacephalon, third overall. So I felt like I was able to take Kyurem-Black, although I had a Mega in mind that I really wanted to take, and I thought that it wouldn't make it back to me because I took Kyurem-Black, but I was okay with that because this thing's a monstrous wall breaker, and I made it a Z user, so essentially it gets a free nuke and a free kill. It can do so much, honestly. Like, it can be bulky with sub-roost sets, you know, like 170 base attack is absolutely insane. It can be especially offensive as well too. Great scarf user, so tons of different options there. It's kind of okay with a Hone Claws set and like Stone Edge, but yeah, it's not horrible, but it's not great at the same time either. It can hit water type. It can hit pretty much any type that wants to switch into it. Um, it's not the best at hitting fairies. We'll patch that up a little bit later, but yeah, it doesn't like rock types, doesn't like steel types very much, so I figured with my next pick I'd want to grab something like that, and that was the Mega that I really wanted, was something that would deal with steel types and rock types really well for me. And I never thought that it would come all the way back to me, like go all the way back to the wheel and come back, but it did, and it blew my mind. But we got Mega Gallade, which deals with those pesky rock and steel types for Kyurem-Black. Gives me a nice little speed tier there. So I have two really strong physical wall breakers here. Gallade can be reasonably used as a cleaner. I've got a few utility Gallade sets up my sleeve that I would love to pull out in the tournament, but I'm not going to talk too much about that because I will be posting this in the server, and I don't want people to know about my utility Gallade, but all you know is that utility Gallade is a thing, and watch out for it, guys. Not the most bulky mon on the physical side, but it's got a really good spit F stat and lots of longevity. It gets some really cool coverage options so that it's not like hard walled by waters. But we'll see later that I get something. I get a couple things to deal with water types that would otherwise be very strong against Kyurem-Black plus Mega Gallade, in my opinion, of course. So I really liked Mega Gallade on the team. It's a setup option, which Kyurem-Black doesn't really give. So setup pressure is really cool. Alolan Ninetales actually sat on the board the entire draft. So no, I did not take Alolan Ninetales, and no one else did. Although Veil with Mega Gallade is really strong as well. It seems like the HD sprite is like causing this video to lag like quite a bit. So I might not do that in the future, or I might make it smaller next time. There you go. So that was Mega Glade, and then round 3, I ended up grabbing something that could kill those pesky fairies that Mega Glade and Kyurem-Black don't like. It's a great fairy killer, and again, I'm not sure how this lasted all the way to round 3, or got to me even in the first place, but it did, and I got Jirachi. So there you go, we got Jirachi. Got our little flinch boy here. Jirachi is a nice versatile mon, can be special, physical, physically defensive, specially defensive. It's a nice U-turner. U-turn is my favorite move in the game, so I love having that, and I love having a stealth rocker on the team as well. Obviously, I don't have any removal option yet for the Kyurem-Black, but having my own rocks, I think, is pretty important, especially in this format. In tournament format in general, and in higher level play, stealth rocks are just so important to punish switches and get crucial chip damage that you might need for sweepers or cleaners later. Yeah, so I like that a lot. Jirachi, great pick. Mega Glade and Jirachi, I haven't used extensively. I've been meaning to, honestly. I really wanted to draft Mega Glade plus Jirachi in NCL with Tapu Koko, but I didn't because I took Megalodios. So, yeah, not really much more to talk about. The double Psychic is like, and it's a nice ghost weakness, and my team kind of has a dark weakness at the same time. So, not great. I don't really have a ground resist at the moment either, so that's not good. I don't know. Lots of weaknesses, you can tell, but it's a very powerful first 3 picks. My next pick I thought was really powerful as well. Again, another mon I'm surprised fell back to me, especially in tournament play. This is very sought-after mon, and that's Nidoqueen. I've used Jirachi and Nidoqueen together on the same team before, and I thought they were a really good pairing, defensively and offensively. Just because they're both really good fairy killers. So I have another fairy killer for the squad here. While Nidoqueen's stats may be a little bit middling at the moment, Sheer Force boosted moves are just so good. It's reasonably good on both offensive sides. Don't discount physical Nidoqueen by any means. And it's a rocker and a T-Spiker. T-Spikes are so important in tournament play. And they've just become meta recently. T-Spikes are just so good in standard play that you need a ground and poison and you need a T-Spiker. Or better if they're the same mon. And that's what Nidoqueen is. Gave me a little more diversity in the speed tiers. So I'm sorry guys, I keep clearing my throat because I've been talking all day. I've recorded all of my red stuff today as well for the finals there. I'm just gonna take water. Clean. Okay. Yeah, Nidoqueen, great wall breaker. Decent cleaner, uses berries really well. Life Orb, Sheer Force sets, obviously. People pretty much know what Nidoqueen does at this point. There's lots of utility sets that it gets. I have 2 fast taunters, one fast taunter and a slower taunter with Glade and Nidoqueen right now. And taunt is also a very important move to prevent rocks on your side of the field. Round 5, I sniped Kraken really hard with this, and I was looking at Melodic, and I opted to get my Fairy and my Water together. And I grabbed Primarina. I've used Primarina in the past. We used it in PCL Season 1. It's only shiny here because there's no normal sprite for it in HD, so that's why. Great wall breaker. So I have a special wall breaker on the team now, which I think is pretty important after having Kyurem-Black as the physical wall breaker, Primarina special wall breaker. Pretty big, and the speed tiers are sort of ironing themselves out right now. Doesn't really have a weakness necessarily because Jirachi kind of covers the poison. Jirachi and Nidoqueen cover the poison weakness. Nidoqueen covers the electric weakness. Kyurem-Black Jirachi cover the grass weakness. So everything's sort of helping each other out at the moment. And this is a really good fighting answer, which I'm fairly weak to at the moment actually, is fighting types. And ground types. Nice way to be able to beat ground types that I'm also very weak to at the moment. I have no ground answers. And I will continue to have no ground answers as I drafted Galvantula. Now, I'm actually really excited about Galvantula because this is my best way to beat Waters. One of my best ways to beat Waters, which is kind of a clutch typing in the format as well. And it's important that I have webs with all my wall breakers. So Kyurem-Black with webs is very, very, very strong, and getting another pivot to help out with Jirachi, so I can very easily pivot into things like Nidoqueen manually, but Volt Turn into things like Nidoqueen is a little bit more threatening, and obviously things like Galvantula and Jirachi threaten a lot of stuff out, and that's why they typically run U-Turn and Volt Switch, so strong there. I didn't realize that Galvantula doesn't actually have the best special attack stat, but most of the time you're running like Thunder, which kind of makes up for that because of Compound Eyes, so I can be a little bit more on board with the Galvantula pick there. I really just thought that Webs was kind of the best option here, and I wanted a fast electric type anyways, so it kind of fit the bill two ways there instead of forcing me into taking like Rabombi or something, which wouldn't have been horrible on the team, but also wouldn't have been great. Now, I'm running out of points pretty quickly here, but I thought I'd go for some bigger hitters a little bit further down now. And again, I have a Rock Sweep team with no removal yet, so I had to get some removal at some point, and this is the extent of it. So that's a very large weakness on the team that I never patched up, and that is Tornadus-Incarnate. I grabbed a very reliable defogger, though. Prankster Defog always gets it off. Speed tier, not great for the team, but, you know, it's a versatile attacking mon as well. And another bulk up user alongside Mega Glade, which is kind of cool. So another setup user at the very least. Another U-turner for the team, which I think is very invaluable for me. And a ground immunity, which I didn't have previously. Now, granted, this is the only ground resist on the entire team, but it does exist. I know Psychedelic Scissor and I did a video yesterday going over all of the drafts in our drafting pool, and we ended up discovering some pretty thick weaknesses on this team, despite how threatening it is on paper, at the very least. Now, granted, with Torn around, it's very viable for me to just run a Tailwind set on Torn and not have to worry about Webs with Galvantula, and so I think the utility, another fast Taunter as well, so the utility options that Torn gave me was pretty worth the 12 points that I paid for it, especially with like how many points I had left at this point. I thought that it might not be worth it, but after looking at it, it definitely is. And having Defiant as a way to punish people from defogging away T-Spikes is a little bit important there as well. Next round, I ended up picking up my Dark and Ghost Resist because I needed one. I had none. And I picked up Umbreon, so that's really cool. Umbreon's a nice mixed defensive tank. It can, you know, go either way there. It's a good Wish Passer for things like... I actually have 3 Wish Passers on the team right now, and that is really fun for things like Kyurem-Black so that they don't have to run Roost every time. Things like Nidoqueen, which don't have reliable recovery, same with Primarina. So I like having Triple Wish, although it's not necessary, it exists. Having a Dark type, a fat Dark type, also helps a lot out too. And I have good fighting answers at this stage, with Primarina, Galvantula, Torn all resisting fighting. And things like Jirachi being able to kill fighting types really easily. Mega Glade able to kill fighting types really easily. So it's not like I'm worried about fighting types sort of running my fade here. And yeah, Umbreon, just good utility. It's a little bit more momentum with Baton Pass sets. I know I've run it a few times on Sylveon, but this is actually my first time ever drafting Umbreon. So I've never gone like the full defensive route like Umbreon. Next round, I wanted to grab a Grass type, and this is the best one sitting there. It's a really good defensive mon. Actually, you'd be really surprised as to how useful it is, but here it is. It's Vileplume. Decent, especially offensive as well. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty strong mon. Sap's, Strength Sap is the move. Strength Sap is a pretty broken move. I actually have a lot of respect for Strength Sap as a move. Basically, entirely shuts down physical attackers, which is pretty cool. It doesn't resist ground because it's grass poison, but Strength Sap was worth it, and it's a little bit stronger than Blossom. I was considering Blossom, but Effect Spore is pretty helpful, and things like Sludge Bomb, Stab Sludge Bomb help, so I definitely have really good ways to break through fairies. Things like Clefable, which would normally like sit in front of Kyurem-Black relatively well. Kyurem-Black and Mega Glade, relatively well. They pretty much don't stand a chance against this team, so that was one of the goals going in for me. After getting Kyurem-Black was definitely be able to break through fairies, and I think I've done a good job of that. And now, I only have 6 points left at this point. I thought about only going for 10 mons. I've hit my minimum now with Vileplume, so I could have just stopped here and gone, gone for a nap or something as we finish up the draft, but I did want to aim for 11. 11 is a sweet spot for me normally. And the reason I like 11 so much is because that's like the standard for tiered drafts, which is my favorite format. And I generally feel like I have the most success building with 11 mons and building against 11 mon teams. So I kind of just go with an 11 mon team every time I get the option to. So my next pick, I ended up grabbing
I don't remember why I picked this exactly. I knew I wanted another Stealth Rocker to take the burden off of Nidoqueen and Jirachi, and I wanted a Flying Resist, I think? But I can't remember what the other resist was that I was looking for out of this. So I won't talk about it any more than that, but we picked up Regirock, and it's a Z user on the team. We had 25 Z points, and Kyurem-Black was like an 18-point mon or 17-point mon or something ridiculous, so Regirock fit the bill there, combining with it. Puts me up to like 22, and then my last mon is going to be a Z user as well, because it's only a 1-pointer. But yeah, Regirock, really good physically defensive wall, so I have a decent specially defensive team with things like Mega Gallade, things like Primarina sitting there, things like Umbreon, and then Regirock provides a really solid physically defensive option. It's actually not a horrible physical attacker. I've seen people use it really well offensively in the past. Its base HP, if its base HP was a little bit higher, it actually probably would be a little bit more broken. But the fact that it gets sturdy now is also really good, and I've never used Regirock before either, so we're going to use Regirock, and hopefully it'll be a good time. Again, Stealth Rocker, I've seen Ben, my good buddy Ben, Fizzle the Hizzle, use this well in OLT, and I'm excited to try it out. And